Let's do this. So, Joe,
What's
how are you
up?
doing, man?
I'm chilling.
Chilling? So I want to introduce all the viewers. I don't have that many yet, but hopefully we'll start building this audience up. That Joe actually has been on my on my vlog 3 times in 3 episodes. So I'm going to link it up in the card over here so you can see his beautiful face, helping me out, moving out the storage and stuff. So we're going to dive pretty deep in this session because Joe has been a direct influence in my life. When we first lived in LA together in Northridge, it was like one of those times where it was magical, but we also were getting slightly distracted, even though we were making like these good connections and having these really beautiful experiences. But what I really want to dive into is Joe's background, because Joe has been, I would say, pursuing his dream, what he calls California dreaming, for quite some time now, and entering in different areas of the entertainment industry and making headway through these small victories and accumulation of these acts to becoming something big and manifesting into his dream. And so that's where I'm going to start it off with, Joe. So give us a little bit of background of yourself.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you for having me on here. And just it's a pleasure and an honor to be a part of your journey as well, man.
Honor's all mine.
I guess the beginning would be beginning of like what? Beginning of like my career or beginning of my LA experience?
Let's say so I know that when you live in the Bay Area, where I'm currently at right now, that you went through a growth period of discovering your own spirituality and self-developmental process, and to a point where, you know, there's a good big metaphysics community that we call it the law of attraction, using the Kabbalion and being like emphasizing the warrior of the light type of roles. And so what were you able to do to get yourself out of the situation that you were living over in Richmond? I remember at one point where you told me that you had some destructive tendencies and habits and weren't around like a good circle of friends, but you had this dream.
I wasn't around a good circle of friends or circumstances. It was more like just the environment and potentials of what I can do was a little more easier to grasp. Like it was a little more easier more at reach, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that everybody I was around was very supportive, doesn't matter. Anybody that I've encountered in my lifetime, good, bad, the ugly, has nothing to do with anything. But
okay. I like that.
Does that make sense? Because a lot of people will use those excuses, which is fine. I mean, for me, it was more of a understanding that being around other people helped me understand myself, and being by myself helped me understand other people. So I guess what we could start it off would be like when I was about 19-ish. And that's when I was like, still trying to figure out just what life was. Like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Like, there was just so much in my life up until that period of just adversity after adversity after adversity. And there was something about not wanting to be a victim of circumstance, like we were just talking about. Like, so I started like just asking questions. I don't know whether it was like internally asking those questions or externally asking those questions, whether it was people around me or just, you know, asking it internally and then getting an answer via TV or the conversation I'm overhearing, or, you know what I'm saying? Like when you ask any kind of question, whether it's mental, internal or external or spiritual, whatever, you're going to get an answer. I mean, once you start asking questions.
So what was the question that you asked yourself to bring you to a new level of understanding?
What is this?
What is?
You know what I mean? I think around like the Matrix, right? That was kind of like the first time that on a mainstream conscious level from myself, and I believe other people kind of had that question. Like, what is life? Is life a simulation? Is it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And what, you know, that's just, I mean, that's a movie and that's an opinion and that's an ideal, but it's still opened up, it sparked a question, right? Like, what is this? What is life? You know what I mean? And so growing up, I was like very, you know, I want to say religious, but I followed the understanding of who Jesus was and, you know, Buddhism and all that stuff, and really having questions, not getting really straight answers, but having understanding of what the message was and who they are and how things are, but never really grasped any real understanding, like very tangible understanding. And maybe that was my inability to open up to what was. You know, if somebody's trying to give me something, I would question it. I was very skeptical because I didn't want to be anchored to just anything. You know what I'm saying? Because there was so much to learn. But the moment you just kind of close yourself off to one ideal or one explanation, you're just like, okay, this is it. This is the way it is. And I'm like, that can't be the way. That can't just be the only way. You know what I mean? There's just too much existence out there for that to just be the only way. And so, or the only answer. And so I was just always asking questions and philosophizing, I guess you would call it. I don't even know if that's a word. Philosophizing.
No, that's a word.
And, with people, you know what I mean? With asking all these questions, random people, man, like 16 years old asking questions, 17 years old asking questions, 18 years old, 19 years old, and always getting all kinds of different kind of answers. And then till one day, I was basically, so I didn't really have too much money at the time, and I went to Barnes and Nobles. I couldn't go to the library. So I would get a lot of my knowledge from books and stuff, right? So there was this random book I found in Barnes and Noble. I found it. It's a small book, and it was a Tai Chi book. It was a book on Tai Chi. And yeah, I mean, not to incriminate myself, but I ended up, you know, pocketing that book. And I'm like, man. And the funny thing is, I went back and bought it. You know what I'm saying? I did. I went back and bought it.
I could actually see you doing that too.
Yeah, because I lost it. I was at karma. I lost the book, or I gave it away, or I let someone borrow it. I forget what it was, and I went back and then, you know, I just bought it, or whatever. And I don't have it again. I still don't have it. Like, I don't even know. It's like, it was a little pocket. It was like a little pocket book for Tai Chi.
You know, Jared actually told me that when he first came to his realization, he was at a Barnes and Nobles too, but he saw Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. But
oh, nice.
He just wanted to add that in there. Synchronistic, right?
But the funny thing is, so I was like, all right. So it fit in my pocket. It was on the floor, and I was like, oh, I feel bad. And then so I'm reading it. It's just talking about just energy. It's talking about just like everything, life force, all this stuff. And the person I had a conversation with was a Jared. Me and him would actually have conversations about like spirituality, just philosophizing with each other and just talking about everything. And then I started telling him about Tai Chi and like, you know, what I've learned from it and this and the other from the book itself. And then, but I didn't say Tai Chi at first. I was just speaking about a book, talking about this, talking about that. He's like, have you read The Secret? I mean, have you watched The Secret? This was before the book. He's like, have you watched The Secret? And I was like, nah, what's that? And he's like, well, everything you're talking about is basically what they talk about in The Secret. It was on YouTube at the time, before DVD, before the book came out. It was on YouTube. And so I was about like 19 or 20, I believe. And so I watched it, and it just, boom, opened up some, but at that time I was so open to something, right? I was so open to any answer to, or, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I have all these questions. Who has the answer? And so the opening scene is the same kind of vibe, right? She's in search of answers, and then all of a sudden she gets this message about the secret, and she's off going through her thing. You know, they kind of like dramatize it or whatever. And so I started watching it, and then instantly I started having a lot of experiences where it was just, you know, but again, I was so open. So again, a lot of these synchronicities started happening. A lot of these manifestations started happening. So
but I think that's the key point, is to be open, so you can have, like, your brain and your spinal cord, it's basically receptacle to the environment. And when you release that, or when you allow it to open up and expand, it's like the universe, God, spirit, all the different names that you can give the creator, gave you and uploaded that information to you, or download that information, however, you take it. And so, like, that's, I think you were really opening yourself up to all this knowledge that you came to an understanding of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I guess rewind, what got me to that point of questioning, right? To got me to that openness was when I was younger. I grew up Catholic, so my grandmother, my mom, I would always have to go to church, and I didn't want to go. I mean, I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you're lazy, you just want to sleep in, whatever. Oh man, what? And then, so you would go, and then you would learn so many things, and then, some things were like, oh, wow, that's powerful. Oh, that's good. And then there was this one time where my uncle and my grandmother had a debate, and it was about, my uncle was in college at the time. We were just graduated college. I'm not really sure. And he was talking about Buddhism and talking to my grandmother about how in Buddhism, the teaching is to question everything. And that's a complete opposite of Catholicism, which was like back in, I forget who the king was, but if you were to say, question any of his authority or question anything, it'd be off with your head. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, what he got her in such a position where she kind of was just like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then just to see him question even that had me question. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty powerful to question everything. And it was basically, don't believe because old scriptures in a book tell you to believe. Don't believe because people you grew up with tell you to believe something. Don't believe because, your environment. Don't believe me. It was like, don't believe me, but question and analyze. And if it helps you better yourself, help others better themselves, then believe it. So it was like, and I'm just paraphrasing that. That's not even like the exact thing, but it was such a powerful lesson there, right? It's like question everything, and then how to question it, and then how to come to your belief, right? The belief is, if it helps you help better yourself and it helps you help others better themselves, then believe it. So a belief isn't something where it's like it's set in stone, or like that belief is like it's like boom, that's, you believe that. But a belief is what you give your attention to, right? That's what belief is what you give your attention to. So it doesn't mean that it's not true. It doesn't mean that it's not true, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means what you put your attention on. That's what your belief is. So everybody's beliefs are true. You know what I'm saying? Like, all truths are true, but it's what you put your belief in that matters. That really is that's my understanding. This is my understanding. That's my opinion. And that's what I took from that interpretation of what that meant to question, right? So in having that instilled in my mental in where I was at, so now fast forward, here comes this Tai Chi book, which reconfirms that, what I, kind of just from that quote. And then it helps me go in deeper. So opening myself up to questioning all these things, right? Whatever it is. Getting to that conversation with Jared, having this synchronistic experience where he's like, oh, dude, what you're talking about is like this. So I watched The Secret, and I'm like, holy, this is it. Like, this is what I'm looking for, right? So it kind of gave me, and this is that The Secret isn't the end all be all. That's just like the gateway, right? That's not even a gateway. That's just one way in to better and more understanding. And there's so many other ways. I mean, I think in any religious practice or any practice of spirituality, you will find the underlining law of attraction. Remove the words, remove any of the ideologies and stuff, but really see the message and really see the effects, right? It's like, I think with Bob Proctor talked about electricity and how it just is. Electricity is, right? And he's like, I don't understand how electricity works. All I do understand is you put electricity could cook your food or it could cook the man. So I was like, oh, wow. So like, just like gravity is, right? Gravity's law, but it doesn't matter. He's like, you can stand at the top of a building, whether you're a good person or a bad person, whatever, you jump off that building, you're going to hit the ground. Like, this is what it is. But then there's also a law of lift as well. So you can believe in the law of gravity. There's also a law of lift, and that's how planes can fly, birds could fly. So some laws are more greater than another law. Not more greater, but I don't even know the word though to explain that. So remove all that, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. What I'm trying to get at is once I got to understanding the law of attraction, all that stuff, it was so funny because this is what happens when you start to learn something new and it has a result and it has an effect. You start to want to share that with other people, especially if it's a very positive effect on you. But that sometimes gets dangerous because you start to force a belief, or you start to force something that you're just learning on other people.
Yeah, I've been guilty of that. I mean?
Yeah. And then when that happens, well, everybody has, because when that happens and they're not open to it, it creates a conflict. It creates you don't end up doing the thing that you want to do, which is to get this point across, right? Mm-hmm. So that was my second question after I learned all this stuff. And I was like, the question I would ask people is, if you believed in something so much and you knew it was good and you knew it would help people, how do you get other people to believe it? And that was a question I would ask somebody. I wouldn't tell them what I believe, but I just would ask them that question. Like, if you believe in something so much, you believe that it would help, how do you express that? How do you share that? And, that was an ongoing question for a long time. I shared it with so many people until Oprah came out with it and started sharing it with the world.
Oprah?
And then it got shut down so quick. Everybody's like, it's a scam, it's not real. All the skeptics stepped in and didn't even practice it.
So which was the claim that it wasn't real? Like what specifically?
It wasn't her saying it. It was just, once it got mainstream, of course, now you're trying to push an idea.
Are you talking about the whole system of knowledge of the
I'm talking about the secret itself.
Knowledge,
I'm just talking about the secret itself. I'm just talking about the secret itself.
Okay,
that's it. I'm not talking about metaphysics. I'm not talking about quantum mechanics. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm talking about just the actual, somebody hears, have you heard about the secret? Have you heard about the secret? Blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, the law of attraction. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's just not real. So you'll have one of the two. Mm-hmm. You won't have anybody, if anybody that's already experienced it, already knows it, to them, it's like, whatever. Mm-hmm. You either believe it or you don't. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't do me no disservice for you to believe it or not. To be honest, it doesn't. Because I'm just here to share it with you. And if you have any questions on how to go about it, I can give you an opinion of my understanding.
And I think that's where the key question is. If you have any questions about it, you should come to me so I can better explain it, because
or anybody else, or I can point you in a direction if I don't know an answer. I'm not the guy who knows all of anything. All I know is what the results I've received through applying whatever I've applied. And most of it is not just within the secret. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, it's just a secret. It's like, no, there's so much out there, because
and it's deeper too.
It gets way deeper, and it's like chess, man. It's an ongoing game, and it gets deeper and deeper. There's levels, right? When you get to mastery, I mean, how do you become a master? You master the basics. And so the three basics were ask, believe, and receive, right? Those are the three basics, but it's so broad that there's so many other techniques to get you there. What kind of asking? Is it me asking out loud? Is it me writing it down? Is it me repeating it every day? And you know what I mean? So there's so many approaches, and at the end of the day, it's whatever works for you. But for me, it seemed to come a little more quicker, because again, I was so open at the time, and I started applying it, and I got like 3 confirmations of manifestations. One was like, I guess what it started was my buddy. All right, so I had work one day, right? I had work, but I didn't have my car, and I had to walk to work. prior to that, I got robbed or whatever. Like somebody tried to rob me, and I was like, I'm not trying to walk to work wearing my restaurant uniform. I gotta walk to work, but I didn't have my car. I didn't have a car at the time, and I was like, man, who could give me a ride, right? And I was just thinking, and I was just like, I called everybody who could give me a ride. The one person I knew that could give me a ride, for some reason, there was like one digit off that was wrong with his number. And I couldn't get a hold of him. I was like, what? I just think it's the wrong number. Like, what? And I didn't know which digit it was. And so there was this picture of Jesus in my house, right? And I'm like, all right, bro, I gotta walk. It's up to you now. Like, whatever happens, it's your will. That's basically what I said. Yeah, I'm walking. So I started walking. I'm in the middle of the median on San Pablo Avenue, which is just one big avenue. And there's a semi truck comes by me. Like, oh, just kind of damn near blows me off the fucking thing. I'm like, damn, this is not safe, bro. And I'm like, what am I doing? So I walk in, and all of a sudden there's all these cars going, and then this car pulls up. He's like, where you going? And I'm like, to work. And the funny thing is it was my buddy Tongue, the person I had in mind that could give me a ride. And I was trying to call him. He's like, how can you just call me? Like, dude, I was like, I was trying to call you, but for some reason I got your wrong number or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, the 4. It's 4 and not. Oh my God. And he's like, but if I would have left 10 minutes earlier, 5 minutes earlier, right, I would have made that left and he was going straight. He wouldn't have seen me. But that's not how it works. It doesn't matter. I could have left 10 minutes earlier. He still would have saw me. I could have left 30 minutes later. He still would have saw me because that's just how it works. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can speculate. I can speculate and be like, nah, you got lucky. Cool. That's fine. I've been lucky so many times and that's amazing. Like, and that's what I just started believing in it. Like, it was just like, okay, that's not even just one experience. There's so many other experiences. But that was the very first one. Like, that was the very vivid, very first one. I'm thinking about it. And not that, so at the end of the day, it was like the potential of him possibly picking me up at the time was very high. Mm-hmm. Because I knew he gets off work around this time. He usually drives it out. You know what I mean? So it was like, there was... Yeah. So it was in alignment. So it's not like, oh, you know who's going to pick me up? A limo is going to come pick me up. Yeah. And it's going to be, you know, to be Salma Hayek in the back. She's going to pull up and she's like, are you going to work? You know what I mean? Like that's...
I want to jump in real quick. It's like, you connected that, like, so you remember this event vividly because it created an emotion out of you where the emotion stuck into you as a belief. But you also use like these practical methods of logical deductive thinking that, hey, well, he gets out this time, yada, yada, yada. So in effect, you're using your mind, you're using that feel-good energy like you got from looking at the picture of Jesus, and you're just like, all right, I'm going out there.
Well, that wasn't a feel-good energy. That was just more, hey, bro, it's on you, man. Like, whatever happens. Mm-hmm. I did everything on my end. I tried to call, I tried to figure something out. I don't want to walk to work. And if I get robbed, it's on you or whatever. If I it's on you. For real. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you only could do so much. Yeah. And it's when you kind of give it to a higher power. It's like, yeah.
I believe that. Yeah.
And so, so that happened. And then, so what I'm trying to get at with the alignment part was like, yes, you have to be in a better position to receive that. You can't say, I want to be the number one cook in America or in the world or whatever, the top chef or whatever it is. And you're playing basketball every day. Or you're in the library every day when you should be in the kitchen. But if you're in a library, you should be looking at a cookbook. You know what I'm saying? Because that's going to get you closer to becoming that top chef. If you're playing basketball all the time, you should be finding out, hey, do you guys like meal preps? Who does your meal prep? Now you're trying to help out. Okay. Oh, what do you like? Okay. And now you could now you have cooking on your brain. You can be playing basketball. I'm not saying don't play basketball, but if you are playing basketball, in your mind, you should be like thinking about, I can't wait to go home and cook or learn how to cook. Whatever. If you want to be that top chef. So I'm not saying you have to take yourself out of activities you really like to do, but when you're doing these certain activities, you should have the goal in mind of what you want always in your brain, always on your mental, what you're thinking about. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, it's so you're starting to use your mind of visualization power, and when you have those constant recurring thoughts, it imprints it on your subconscious mind, the deeper layers of your being, which happens to, I believe, connects with like the higher spirit, and it leads you to these like series of actions to start putting it together without you being consciously aware of it. And then it's also for you too, to your own conscious awareness through your, using your frontal lobe and create an executive plan of action and just execute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what you did, because that led you into finding these key insights, and you started to see what do you believe is true? And so I think that actually led you to the next part of your journey. So let me ask you that. What did you believe that is true and you still believe is true, and that led you to the next chapter?
Oh man, I mean, honestly, like I was still in a bad spot. Like just because I was manifesting stuff didn't mean because I started manifesting other stuff too. I started manifesting negative situations. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that it wasn't working.
Yeah.
Like it didn't mean that the law of attraction wasn't at work. It was at work, and not in my favor at the time because I had something else. I was so lost. I didn't have any goals, bro. I didn't have any. The only aspiration I really had was like acting, but I was so far away from that. Like, I was so far removed from it. Like there was nothing in my current situation at the time that goes, oh yeah, you're gonna be an actor, right? But I didn't put myself in the best position. I wasn't in classes for it. I wasn't reading books on it. I wasn't watching movies on that. You know what I'm saying? Like I was completely detached from what I really wanted. I was in the complete opposite position of what I really wanted. So,
let me ask you. So when you were saying you're in direct opposite of what you really wanted, so far you mentioned acting was a goal. What else did you want? And I'm gonna ask you that first. What else did you want?
I wanted money.
Money. Okay.
I wanted not to.
Everyone wants money, bro.
Sure, yeah, but sometimes my beliefs in money they were in conflict with each other. Mm-hmm. I hated money because I saw what it does. I saw what it did with my family. I saw what it did to other people.
One thing though, do you have any other things that you wanted? Because then I want you to start going exactly the opposite reason why you're in conflict of what you did want.
Man, honestly, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't. That's why that's why I was such a whirlwind of uncertainty for a long time, because I didn't know what I wanted. Mm-hmm. I was looking forward to 2012 and the world ending. That's where I was at, bro. Okay. You know what I mean? Like everybody's like, oh, this happy-go-lucky dude. Like, oh, it was pretty bad, bro. Like, and it just, most people don't understand that when you're in that kind of position and you understand a certain power that you wield, that's a scary thing. Because now, okay, how do I control these thoughts? Right? Like, how do I control what the fuck I'm feeling? Like, excuse me, that cuts out. I'm not sure.
You're good. We're uncensoring this stuff. So
yeah. But like, does that make sense? It's like now, if you have no goal, you have the one thing that you really want, you can't see yourself having. The one thing that you need, you don't have a relationship with, or a good relationship with, and now you have this. Into you, and you're just like, you're lost, bro. And then you're just like, okay, you know what I mean? And then the one thing that does work and the one thing you're trying to share with people, and now it's getting shut down by the rest of the world saying that it's fake. It's not. So when I was out about like, oh yeah, the law of attraction manifestation, then people start like then it just became weird to talk about. I became in closet about,
especially during that time period.
Yeah, and metaphysics. So I was just like in the closet about it, like I don't think anybody want to hear that stuff. So I would just go and learn on my own, like whether it's reading books or just, and there was barely anything about it online, you understand? Mm-hmm. So there was just one thing that kind of came in randomly off the radar is I woke up and there was a book on my dresser, and it was a book called You Are a Psychic. I don't know how it got on my dresser. I asked my mom, I was like, hey, did you put this on here? Who is this? But the book was pretty tight. It was like talking about like everybody's a psychic and everybody has these abilities. And I was like, and it was pretty powerful, right? And but if you guys are interested, look up You Are a Psychic. It's like an MIT book. And it was like MIT students did a study on the human abilities of psychic abilities or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it would just talk about, you have auditory.
Like and subscribe on YouTube. Booty in your face.
We found true happiness.